Let's talk about a black dandy who was one of the only openly gay writers of the Harlem Renaissance, Richard Bruce Nugent. Welcome back to Yesterqueers. My name's Amanda, and I'm a public historian of queer history. The Met Gala is tonight, and this year's theme is Superfine, Tailoring Black Style, inspired by this book by Monica L. Miller, so I thought it was the perfect time to talk about Nugent. But I want to be clear that dandy is not a synonym for gay. Dandyism is personal style as an art form and as rebellion. Describing the rise of the black dandy during the Harlem Renaissance, Ty Gaskins wrote in Vogue, "In a racially segregated America, the black dandy's outfit became a form of resistance, an elegant middle finger to a society that sought to define them by race, not character." Richard Bruce Nugent was born in Washington, D.C., July 2, 1906. His mother was a pianist, and his father was a Pullman porter who died of tuberculosis when Nugent was just 13. Shortly after his father's death, his mother moved Nugent and his brother to New York City, where Nugent fell in love with the avant-garde scene in Greenwich Village. He started to draw and to write, and when he said that he wanted to become an artist, his mother sent him back to Washington, D.C. to live with his grandmother. But while he was in D.C., Nugent befriended poet and playwright Georgia Douglas Johnson, and on a Saturday night in the summer of 1925, Nugent met Langston Hughes at Johnson's house. Langston Hughes was 23, only 4 years older than Nugent, but Nugent described him as a made-to-order hero for me. He had done everything, all the things young men dream of but never quite get done. And I suppose his looks contributed to the glamorous ideal too, as did his voice and gentle manner. Nugent goes on to tell the story of how he and Hughes spent most of the rest of that evening walking each other back and forth to their houses because they only lived a few blocks apart and they were in the middle of a conversation that they didn't want to end. This is the 1920s equivalent of falling asleep on the phone. Nugent followed Hughes back to New York, specifically to Harlem, where he became friends and collaborators with pretty much everyone. He was one of the central figures of the Harlem Renaissance's literati, which included Wallace Thurman, Zora Neale Hurston, Countee Cullen, among many others. Nugent is probably best known as one of the creators of a short-lived journal called Fire. He and Langston Hughes developed the idea during late-night conversations and then brought Nugent's roommate, Wallace Thurman, on board as an editor. Fire was intended to be a quarterly journal dedicated to the younger, boundary-pushing artists of the Harlem Renaissance. But alas, they only had enough money to publish one issue in November of 1926. But it was packed with controversial topics like interracial relationships, colorism, promiscuity, and queerness. Nugent published 2 drawings in the issue, as well as a short story called Smoke Lily's Jade, which was the first published literary work by a black writer to discuss homosexuality. Although he did marry a woman in 1952, Nugent was out as a gay man for his entire adult life, and he and his wife, Grace Marr, were clear that their relationship was not physical. Nugent is often left out of conversations about the Harlem Renaissance, mostly because he was a dilettante who did a little bit of everything. His friends thought Nugent could be one of the great writers if he would just stop screwing around and apply himself. In a 1929 letter to Langston Hughes, Wallace Thurman wrote, "Bruce should be spanked, put in a monastery, and made to concentrate on writing." But as Cody St. Clair wrote in a 2017 article for African American Review, we can reframe Nugent's dilettantism not as laziness, but as an expression of his queerness, a rejection of the classist and professionalist ideologies of racial uplift and black bourgeois respectability. That's it for today. As always, more information, including sources and further reading, is available in the usual place.